Good morning to our colleagues from Abu Dhabi and good afternoon to our colleagues and partners in India. Welcome to our presentation and discussion on Abu Dhabi's attractiveness for Indian pharmaceutical and related firms. My name is Bhaskar Dasgupta. I work for Abu Dhabi Global Markets and I will be your host for this session. Can we have the deck up, please? Thank you. So the background to this this particular event is, of course, going back to the founding father of the UAE, Sheikh Zayed, who very cogently and farsightedly said that, we couldn't really focus on just oil as our main source of national income. And he set the country on the path to diversifying our economy. And healthcare is one of the main sectors. Next slide, please. So because of that, we have put together an integrated offering across Abu Dhabi. So joining me on the panel is Salvatore Lavallo from ADGM, who's going to talk about Abu Dhabi Investment Office and the offerings from there. Dr. Omar from the Abu Dhabi Department of Health, who's going to talk about Abu Dhabi's healthcare strategy. Dr. Sahar from the Department of Health, who's going to talk about drug and medical products licensing. Dr. Dirk, again from the Department of Health, who's going to talk about healthcare innovation and health tech. And then we'll have Abdulaziz, who's from Zones Corp, and he'll be talking about the logistics and the free zones that we have where you can be hosted. And finally, I will close it off by talking about ADGM and the legal and other elements that we have. So without further ado, let me hand it over to Sal, who can take this away. Sal?
Thank you, Dr. Bhaskar. We are very excited to be here with this panel and to be talking with our potential colleagues in India about the opportunities here in Abu Dhabi. I'm Salvatore Lavallo. I'm the head of foreign direct investment at the Abu Dhabi Investment Office, and I will be taking you through why Abu Dhabi is a great investment destination and how the investment office can support your expansion into Abu Dhabi. So next, the way that we're looking always at innovation in Abu Dhabi is to look at it as not just something that is new. We have always been forward thinking, always looking at modernity. This is something that all of our leaders from founding father Sheikh Zayed till our leaders today have always been visionary about bringing in technology solutions and having the UAE be at a cusp of innovation for the entire world. Next slide. So why Abu Dhabi? Abu Dhabi is a small market. We are aware of that, but what we're interested in is always having Abu Dhabi affecting not only the market domestically but internationally. So we are a third of the world's population is within a 4 hours flight. 80% of the world is within 8-hour flight. And so when we're looking at what solutions we can be approaching in Abu Dhabi, what kind of things we can be solving, we're looking at not just the problems that we face in Abu Dhabi, but how we can apply these and have globally exportable solutions that can help the entire world and our entire region. Next slide. When we're trying to help people to understand Abu Dhabi, one of the first things that I say is that what you might know about Abu Dhabi and the UAE might not be wrong, but it might be old. Because what's exciting about the UAE is we're on this positive trajectory. Every year we are getting better and bigger. There are always new policies and things that are changing that make Abu Dhabi even more of an attractive place. So, of course, we have this strong and stable economy that has been growing year on year. We have an established infrastructure with full fiber connectivity, smart cities. We have a consolidated government approach to many of these sectors. We're also very business friendly, zero income tax, We have the highest ease of doing business in the region. And last week, we announced 100% foreign ownership on almost all economic activities. But I think more importantly than all of that is that this is a place that people love to call home. So when you're looking at expanding your business, of course, you're not only thinking about the economic side, but you're thinking about the people in your company that will be located here and why they might want to be moving to Abu Dhabi. We're the safest city in the world. We have one of the happiest populations, and all of these are only improving. I've been in the UAE 10 years, and every single year it gets better and better. Next slide. So when we think about how this improvement has happened, how this optimism around innovation, it's really because of an innovative ecosystem that is bringing together all of the key players. So we have, you'll see on this panel today with ADGM, Department of Health, Zones Corp, all of these entities working together to create an enabling environment. We also have a lot of different funding sources from government and sovereign funds, as well as private funds that are able to support in this sector. We have an integrated infrastructure that works well to enable technology. We have located various research universities that can help with this, and we have an increasingly large talent pool and a talent pool that is here because of their skills. And so, all of this together really is making Abu Dhabi emerge as an increasingly innovative ecosystem. Next slide. So when thinking about how can a company come to Abu Dhabi, we at the investment office are here to help any company that is looking to expand with a physical presence in Abu Dhabi, whether it is expanding here from abroad or growing, a local company that's growing here. There's various types of presence you can have, whether it's strictly R&D or if it's a regional headquarters. There's different ways to invest. You can do a JV. You can do a greenfield investment. At the investment office, we are really agnostic to the legal format that you are setting up here, and we're able to help anybody across that. We also have a team that will be able to give you an idea of what is the best way to set up and to establish in Abu Dhabi. Next slide. So one key thing in this year, this crazy year of 2020, that none of us expected that we would be doing these events all virtually. But our response to the pandemic was, especially in terms of our economic response, was really, really amazing. Not only do we have the highest testing per capita in the world, but we announced 16 economic stimulus packages, 17 financial incentives, all with the idea of how can we keep the Abu Dhabi economy thriving? How can we support from the new entrepreneurs, small and medium-sized enterprises, to the large multinationals, how the government is always looking for ways and listening to the private sector to make sure that we're able to provide that support. Next slide. So when we're looking at healthcare and biopharma specifically, and we have many colleagues from within the Department of Health that will be able to give more of the idea of the investments that we're looking at as an emirate. But a couple key points: we are really able to look at any company in a really individualized and bespoke way and make sure that we are not providing or that we are able to provide individualized support to whatever the company might need. Some of the key areas that we're focusing on lately, of course, is anything that's COVID related in terms of vaccine production or digitalization or telemedicine. We're also looking at regional issues that affect us, but are also increasingly affecting the world, like diabetes and genetic issues. And then we really want to go from focus on provision of care to really coming out as a health tech hub. And in order to do that, we want to focus more on research and technology, medical technology, clinical trials. And you'll see that we are growing incredibly in this sector and have been for the past few years, but I'll let my colleagues at DOH take you in more details in that. Next slide. So at the Abu Dhabi Investment Office, we are the central government hub that supports private sector investment. We help any private sector, whether coming from abroad or located in the UAE. We give very individualized support. What our role is really divided into three aspects. One is to promote Abu Dhabi more generally as a preferred investment destination, to provide the insight to companies about why Abu Dhabi is great in each of these sectors, how the government is working to support them. Then we try to attract these companies to Abu Dhabi. We give them financial and non-financial incentives that make it not only make Abu Dhabi no-brainer to come into and to make the investment, but also make that investment process easier. And then we facilitate. We are really the ear of the private sector, trying to listen to what are some of the barriers to entry, what are some ways that we can support you. We have working very closely with the other government players in each sector to make sure that we are able to provide the solutions, change policies if we need to, and make sure that we are continually a business-friendly environment. Next slide, please. So specifically, the way that we do this is through two main services. One is our investor concierge. So this is an end-to-end white glove service that really helps companies to understand how to set up in Abu Dhabi. What are the, what are the barriers that need to be overcome? How is that best done? They can really support with HR, with banking, with any of these different types of questions that might be asked. We are your partners here on the ground. We also provide incentive instruments. So we provide financial incentives through the form of a pay and reclaim rebate structure. And this allows companies to be able to grow and to get that foundational support in order to be successful in the future. So we take no equity, we take no IP ownership, we take no commercial interest. It's purely government support to enable innovative companies to establish and to thrive in Abu Dhabi. Next slide, please. So more on the investor concierge. They're really here to answer any questions that they might have. If we don't have the answer within the Abu Dhabi Investment Office, we will link you with another government entity that is able to provide that, whether it's networking or licensing or talent and visas. We're really here to answer any of the key questions. And we understand that each sector has unique questions, that each investor has unique questions. And so we do this in an individualized way, in a streamlined way, and really here for any inquiries that you might have about expanding, and able to make that process a little bit easier. And also because so many things are changing, really in the last year or so, we've changed more policies for business friendliness than we have in the past 5 or 10 years before that. And so navigating all these changes, we're really here to help you to understand what is happening in Abu Dhabi. Next slide. In terms of our incentives, again, we have financial incentives and non-financial. On the financial side, we provide a rebate program that enables companies to set up and kind of cover some of those costs. The way it works is in a pay and reclaim basis. We will cover some specific cost centers such as high-skilled payroll, high-tech capex, and we will be able to cover at a certain percentage and pay that back quarterly. We also connect you with other ecosystem funding partners. And on the non-financial side, in addition to our investor concierge, we have our relationship managers that work with each company, and we also connect you with the broader ecosystem of the sector and of Abu Dhabi. Next slide. So if you have any questions, please reach out to us. You can email us at inquiries@audio.ae or visit our website, investinabudhabi.ae, and we're happy to answer any questions and to help you in thinking about expanding to the best country in the world, to Abu Dhabi. Thank you so much. Now I believe we're on to Dr. Omar Najim, who's a senior advisor at DOH.
Thank you very much, Sal, and good afternoon to everybody in India, and good morning to everybody in Abu Dhabi. It's an absolute pleasure to have the chance to speak to you all. And what I will do, I'll very quickly go through the healthcare system in Abu Dhabi and where is it heading, more importantly. So generally speaking, we have the Abu Dhabi vision, and healthcare sector constitute a very substantive part of that healthcare vision, which is driving towards an economy that is knowledge-based, and healthcare is definitely a key sector in that, and driving away from the hydrocarbon and the oil-based economy. We set that vision in 2008, and we almost half the way through, and the ambition is to get to about 90% of the economy to be knowledge-based economy, non-oil based. And so far, I'm happy to report that this year, 65% of the economy is non-oil based, and these sectors range from sustainability, from alternative energy, healthcare being a key one of them, education, manufacturing, and now with the AI and digital technologies as a big part. Next one. As just to show there are 9 specific sectors that we are focusing on, and healthcare touches on 3 of them. More important to the audience of this session is biopharmaceutical and life sciences and explorations, and setting up manufacturing is a key individual one within the 9 sector we are going to focus on. Next. Reiterating what Sal was saying earlier, we're putting a nice picture on the left there for Abu Dhabi Corniche. The good thing about Abu Dhabi is you are never more than 15 minutes away from white, fantastic beaches, but also the lifestyle, and more important to people who are going to be investing as well as working in Abu Dhabi. It's a very welcoming city, a diversity. There are over 200 nationalities that are choosing Abu Dhabi to be their second home. The Indian community is, I think, the largest by far compared to everything else, and many of expatriates from India as well as long-term residents of Abu Dhabi from India has made it successfully and has made strong and thriving businesses in Abu Dhabi. To the extent, I think Abu Dhabi is the first city in the Gulf to have a Hindu temple, which is due to open next year, inshallah. But apart from that, from business sense, we talked about the safety, we talked about the economic strength and the double A rating, the continuous growth in non-oil, and the strategic locations that Sal alluded to earlier. If I go next page. Now, healthcare specifically, and some of the international companies that chose Abu Dhabi within the healthcare sector arena to be part of their portfolio internationally or globally, including Honeywell, including Investcorp, including Mubadala, including Carlyle and Blackstone, as well as King College, Cleveland Clinics, and Imperial College. Next one. I'm just driving through because some of the information you already got exposed to. The healthcare system in Abu Dhabi, so we have about 60 hospitals operating within Abu Dhabi. The population we are serving is 3 million. But as Sal was saying earlier, the infrastructure for healthcare is not catering only for the 3 million population we are who are residing and living in Abu Dhabi. But also we have a wider scope, and that's definitely being manifested by the number of patients we received as medical tourism. So there were about 40,000 patients, international patients, many of them from India again, many of them from GCC, Europe, Australia, who chose to have their treatment in Abu Dhabi to the tune of about average expense of 30,000 Emirati dirham per patient. And that's only for the clinical care. So it goes beyond the clinical care. The Abu Dhabi population growth projection is now we are about 3 million. We're projecting the population to increase by about almost 100% by 2030. Now, if you look at the expansion and why Abu Dhabi is 3 million, UAE is 10 million. The wider region, if I go back one slide, the wider region is about that we are serving or we are targeting through based in Abu Dhabi is about 400 million. It is it's the highest growth margin in the world. So the MENA healthcare is growing by 8% compared to, let's say, North America 1% or compared to Europe 3%. It's also expected the average, the general spend over the next 3 years to reach about 114 billions across the GCC and North Africa in healthcare. So there is a huge opportunity there. There is a huge opportunity not only to be part of it, but also to be a continuous and long-term part of it. On the left-hand side, we have Cleveland Clinic. It's needless to say, and you've probably heard in the news, Abu Dhabi is the only place on earth where 4 out of the best 10 hospitals globally exist within about 100 miles of each other. So we have Cleveland Clinic, Mayo Clinic, to great facilities and great service they provide to everybody. King's, Imperial, Mosley. At some point, we had Apollo and the likes. And also from pharmaceutical point of view, if we go into the next page, so the collaboration we are throwing on the table is basically the manufacturing around life sciences, as well as the clinical trial. Now, from manufacturing in the life sciences, so you can see when you've got what you need is you need facilities that you can collaborate on in terms of assigning principal investigators and scientific team. You also need a regulatory framework that will allow you to do this with the most flexible way while ensuring the highest of standards are being adhered to, and at the same time allow you and support you and take your hand and walk shoulder to shoulder with you in order to advance your business going globally. Next one. And this is it's an old slide, but generally speaking, the life sciences sector has been growing by an average of 17% over the last few years. And many of these, so for example, one of the facilities that we have in Abu Dhabi is supplying the whole of the UNICEF and United and other United Nations, other agencies and NGOs with the biggest supplier of needles and syringes for their different vaccination efforts. We have other facilities like Abbott, GSK, Pfizer manufacturing generics in Abu Dhabi. We have some homegrown life science and biopharmaceuticals, including Life Pharma, Neo Pharma, Atcan. They all now having footprint across the region with a very short lifespan that is less than 5 to 10 years. Next one. Okay. And these are the different facilities, the expansion that we've been growing in terms of beds, in terms of facilities, in terms of access to specialized care. Next one. Now, where are we heading over the next 2 years? So there will be a biosafety level 4, a biosafety lab level 4 that will be contributing significantly to the advances of monoclonal antibodies or vaccine development, also research around this. The Abu Dhabi Center for Research and Innovation, I think Dr. Derek will be alluding to that. We have the centralized biobank. So the largest genomic sequencing in the world happened in Cambridge. That was 100,000. Just last year, which is in early 2019, we started the largest genomic sequencing in the world, going beyond the 100,000, and it aims to sequence about 1 million population. Following that, within 6 months, we followed with even a bigger project, which is sequencing the Arab genome, i.e. the 10 million genome project. We have healthcare as one of the key engine of growth, economic engine of growth, medical education, tourism hub, and there could be lots of collaborations with the Indian companies and Indian specialists and Indian expertise in this. Also, we are opening 2 cellular therapy centers that will be capitalizing on the best in the world expertise around stem cell, around cellular therapy, and the associated industries. And we want to break into the P20 life science. There's a strategy already being designed on that. It's a very ambitious aspect, but we are fully committed as a government, as a scientist, and as a healthcare provider, and as a regulator to breaking into that. And we think we have all the potentials to do that and all the infrastructure on that. One of which, and you might have heard about it, is the launching of the HOPE Consortium, which is around the logistics surrounding the vaccine. As everybody appreciate, developing the COVID-19 or the SARS-CoV-2 vaccine is one element, but transporting that from wherever it's going to manufacture to the rest of the world is going to be the biggest airlift in the history of humankind. And Abu Dhabi has launched last week the HOPE Consortium, where it's bringing the best of the expertise around it, put it in one place, have it as a one-stop shop for anybody that want to engage in managing the supply chain around the vaccines that they are manufacturing or receiving. And it's going to a great success. Next page. I think this is around going digital, fully digital in the healthcare sector. So from the life sciences point of view, and we definitely used it in COVID-19 research and innovation, is every single patient that goes through the system in Abu Dhabi, all of their records are being captured, all of their interaction are being captured, and provide a wealth of information for the pharmaceutical and life sciences sector in order to build on, to do their research going forward in the future, being it phase 3, 2, or 4, and developing insight into what could be developed and built on as a business case. Next one. So the next one, and that will be the last page, I promise. I think the opportunities are immense in the healthcare sector. Innovation is key one. Manufacturing is fully supported in here as per Sal presentation. And what we're looking for is more is how can we serve the purpose of each other. Abu Dhabi can act the gate to the rest of Africa, to Europe, and to North America for all of your needs. And that's the spirit we entering this. This is the spirit we are presenting Abu Dhabi as a key area to consider in every expansion of business that you might be thinking about. Thank you very much. And
hello everyone, it is a pleasure to be with you today. I will be walking you through my presentation on the drug and medical product licensing. I will go through the UAE market, an overview, and the drug supply in Abu Dhabi, and what is our positions with regard to pharmaceutical manufacturing, in addition to the process of drug registration and of importation, and what about the Indian firms that are available in the Abu Dhabi market. Next slide, please. The pharmaceutical sector in the UAE is expanding rapidly to meet the evolving need of our population, which is expected to reach 11 million by 2030. And to achieve a sustainable growth of the pharmaceutical industry, Abu Dhabi government adopted a series of long-term plan, which is about Abu Dhabi Vision 2030, that has been explained by my colleagues, Dr. Omar and Dr. Sal, considering the pharmaceutical industry as the main priority for the subsector. The UAE government also try to minimize the reliance on an imported pharmaceutical, and according to the data of the Customs Authority, that the UAE importation was around 14.9 million of pharmaceutical products in the world in 2018, and mainly from Germany, US, and Switzerland and France. The focus of the government is to have the encouragement support for local manufacturers to become resident in the UAE, where we have to encourage the local manufacturing for pharmaceuticals. Next slide, please. So for the Abu Dhabi pharmaceutical market, there are a lot of strengths where you have to have the good attraction for the market, where we are encouraging international investments. And our market is considered one of the most economically stable and diverse market in the Middle East. And one of the main features of the UAE, where there is a strong patent drug market, so there is no commitment to other generic products until the patency in the country of origin is expired. And also our market or the pharmaceutical sector have a strong healthcare infrastructure, as well as we have a compulsory health insurance in Abu Dhabi. And next slide, please. So I will not go through that much opportunities since it has been detailed by Mr. Sal in the previous presentation, as well as with Dr. Omar. But what we will be focusing on that we are focusing on the DOH strategic theme for having improving the access to the needed pharmaceutical, nutraceuticals, and medical devices. Next slide, please. For the drug supply in the UAE market, or particularly in Abu Dhabi, we have the approved drug product, which will be available all the time in the market. We have the features of the drugs. We have 60% of the drugs are registered in the UAE with the Ministry of Health, and we have another channel to import products that are not readily available or registered, which is requested based on the demands from our facilities, which contributed to 40%. If we focus more on the non-registered source of countries, we will find that 85% of our importation for the non-registered products from North America, Europe, Australia, and others, and only 15% from the neighbor countries, Morocco and India. Next slide, please. The DOH took the initiative and adopted the generic policy since 2009, and this is encouragement for the dispense of the generic products in the pharmacy to support the coverage of the product in the health insurance scheme. And one of the big features for the UAE market, if you enter as a generic product, there is no limit of the number of products to be registered. Like in some countries, they will register up to 5 or 6 products. But here in the UAE, there is no cap. There is no limit for number of generics to be registered in the market. Next slide, please. For the local manufacturing, we have 5 main factories, starting from the biggest pharma company, which is Gilfar. They have a very bigger portfolio compared to other manufacturing sites. We have New Pharma, Global Pharma, Well Pharma, as well as Medpharm. We have some limited medical equipment and personal protective equipment factories that are producing a limited number of products. This is also another area for a big investment to be introduced into our market. Next slide. We have engaged with a survey in the latest period with the Ministry of Economy and Department of Economical Development, and we identified that there are 5 main drug categories that is in high demand to be registered and available and manufactured in the UAE. We have narcotic drugs, we have certain essential drugs as listed in the WHO list. We have vaccines and biologics, which is the main focus now to focus on how to produce these products locally in the Abu Dhabi. Encouragement also for the development of biologics, since we have no biological product manufactured locally, and the antibiotics. And we have all big pharma companies, they have their products here introduced. However, for the manufacturer, we have a limited manufacturing drug portfolio. Only tablets, capsule, and syrup, those 4. But now we are having a more focus on manufacturing more sophisticated products like vaccines and biologics. Next slide. This is the results of a latest survey that have been conducted by the Ministry of Economy. This survey was conducted on the UAE governmental sector only, where we have this is for the whole UAE. The product importation, we rely on the importation, which is huge, reached around 22 million UAE dirham in 2019, and with the medicine represents 70% of the total imports. Medical device 16%, dietary supplements and 9%, and other personal protective equipment around 7%. Next slide, please. Now, to walk you through the registration and the importation process, for medicine and drugs, the Ministry of Health is the federal authority who are responsible for registering medical products in the country, and they are providing lots of incentives for the manufacturing company. For example, they have a fast-track registration process for innovative medicine. You can supply your dossier, and the application and the approval will be processed within 14 days. And I think you have heard this before, where some of the drugs that has been registered recently in the by US FDA, it is the first country to be introduced after the US is the UAE. There are some incentives for supporting local manufacturing. Also, this is a very, very good opportunity for you to think of, where there is some fee availability to submit the drug dossier before the patent expiry for the innovative drug. So it will be ready once the patent expires. The review process for the drug dossier will start. So it will give you the privilege of being introduced into the market as fast as possible. Additionally, for the Ministry of Health, they are providing with a preferential pricing for local manufacturers. So if the generic product is manufactured locally, they will take 70% of the price of the innovative drug across, versus the other generics that they will be having a gradual decrease in the price compared to the innovative product. Importation of the non-registered product is also approved by the Ministry of Health through an import permit with an authorized supplier available or based in the UAE. From the Department of Health aspect, we are responsible for approving the drugs and giving it a code to be listed in the approved Abu Dhabi drug code list, where we are using this code to support claim submission and insurance coverage, since we have a mandatory insurance scheme in the also in the Department of Health, we are responsible for evaluation of new innovative medical devices as well as the new technology assessment. We are also conducting some regulatory checks where we are ensuring the quality and safety and efficacy of the product marketed in the Abu Dhabi market through having active post-market surveillance program. In addition to monitoring of the adverse drug reaction and medication error, as well as the different pharmacovigilance activities. With the latest implementation of the barcoding of pharmaceutical, this is also an initiative has been taken by the Department of Health, where we are putting the time frame for pharma company to introduce barcoding to track and trace all pharmaceutical products available in our market. So next slide, and this will be my last slide here, where we are saying why we have several Indian firms exist already in the UAE. We have MicroSynergy, New Biocon, and some of these companies already engaged with our local manufacturer, and they have producing their product here in the UAE. Why we are focusing on the Indian products? Because we know that they are an affordable product. We know that they have the active pharmaceutical ingredient, because they are the biggest supply worldwide in this industry. We identified several non-registered products that we supported, and this will be the high focus for DOH for producing and attracting the pharma firm to produce, mainly like intravenous solutions that is used in emergency. We have facing several shortages in this product, as well as some of the molecules that is listed by the WHO as an essential drug. There are lots of incentives that have been explained by my colleagues earlier. As we have said, that the Ministry of Health giving a preferential prices mainly for full manufacturer and primary packaging. DOH also is supporting local firm by covering all the products in the insurance plans with a limited budget, and definitely blocking any non-registered once a registered alternative product available. In addition to the other incentives mentioned by Mr. Sal in the first presentation, also there is other incentives that has been put by the Department of Economical Development in the Emirate of Abu Dhabi to encourage pharma firms to exist in the Abu Dhabi for further expansion. Thank you so much, and I think now I will hand it over to Dr. Derek, my colleague, Dr. Derek. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Sacha. Yes, good afternoon, India, and it's already afternoon Abu Dhabi as well. So good afternoon, Abu Dhabi. Next slide, please. I would like to show you a little bit about what we do in health tech and innovation. Actually, my colleagues already gave you a good overview about Abu Dhabi and the healthcare system, so I can try to make it very comprehensive. I think one thing you hopefully already learned from Dr. Sacha and also Dr. Omar is that Abu Dhabi Department of Health is somehow an exceptional regulator. I mean, we are not leaning back on and just focusing on regulation, but we really try to push the market in Abu Dhabi for the sake of our patients, as well, of course, as the economy. Today is a good example, working together with Abu Dhabi Investment Office, with Abu Dhabi Global Market and others to really push the market for Abu Dhabi as well as the entire country. I would like to highlight 4 different initiatives. First is our health tech hub. The second one is how we look at clinical research, regulation, and how we try to enable. Third one is health technology assessment. And the last one, Dr. Omar already mentioned, we are planning to launch a new authority that would fully focus on this one. Now, please, the next slide. So, slide is gone, but doesn't matter. And maybe you go back to, I would like further back. And again, yes, now this one. Now what next? What I would like to highlight is our work with startups in health tech. Actually, you may have heard about Hub 71, our startup ecosystem, which is also part of Abu Dhabi Global Market, by the way, startups across all industries. But we really nominated a dedicated team in Hub 71. So are we really working with international startups from all over the world? We try to launch different kind of challenges, and we also traveled a lot before the pandemic started in order to really attract startups to come to Abu Dhabi to work with us, mainly for 2 reasons. One is to improve quality of care in Abu Dhabi. I think that's one of the philosophies all of us share. Try to be the first, try to get innovators, try to get new drugs, try to get innovation to Abu Dhabi before others have it. So that's something we also do with the startups. We truly believe we need to be have innovation firsthand from people living here, working with us, which is of course also a contribution to the economy, but also from a point of view of quality of care. So we really have a dedicated team working with startups. You know yourself, regulation is one of the showstoppers in health. So we work with them to overcome regulatory challenges, helps them to get access to funding, in partnership with Abu Dhabi Global Market, Abu Dhabi Investment Office, and of course private partners who fund. And we also launched a program with Plug and Play, which is the biggest venture capital all over the world, but who also run a number of acceleration programs all over the world. Munich, Silicon Valley, of course, Shanghai, Kyoto. So we really get access to international startups and are part of a much bigger picture than Abu Dhabi only. Next slide. In terms of clinical research, we actually realized that there's a lot of potential for improvement. And in particular, during the last 12 to 15 months, we did a lot in order to support you, to support others to launch clinical trials. The first thing, we do not look at gigabytes of scientific papers when we talk about clinical research, but we really look at implementing solutions for Abu Dhabi. So for us, translational research, clinical studies are much more important than just publishing papers. So what we did was to launch, for example, just to give you an example of COVID-19, we launched a COVID-19 IRB committee, which approved more than 100 research projects during the last 6 months. Among them, I think Dr. Omar already mentioned, we have 2 clinical trials for vaccines, one of them including 30,000 patients across Abu Dhabi. So there was really rapid approval and the ability to recruit people. So we think we are in a pretty good shape regarding clinical research projects, clinical trials, and that's something, of course, we want to build on, get more trials into the country, and being the regulator was one of the fastest in the world to approve things like this. Last not least, Dr. Omar also highlighted already what we can offer as well for clinical research is not just a very agile regulator, but also amazing facilities like Cleveland Clinic, Abu Dhabi, Mayo Clinic, Saha, which is our public hospital group, to really conduct clinical trials, well organized and supported and pushed by the regulator. So next slide. Number 3, health technology assessment. Dr. Sacha already highlighted that regarding drugs, we are so far talking about the federal level to approve. However, as Abu Dhabi, we have the capability and also given by law to approve products, medical products for Abu Dhabi only. So Department of Health is on the way to build more capabilities in health technology assessment. Actually, we have a committee right now consisting of different partners across the market who do this already. And since Department of Health is not only regulator, but it's also the custodian of government budgets for healthcare for the UAE national population, we are similar to a health insurance company able to include products and services in health insurance. So that's what we build on. There is a department within the Abu Dhabi Department of Health who do the administrative part of it, and we're working with subject matter experts to evaluate technologies. Of course, cost benefit is the most important aspect to us. So we look at technologies, evaluate the existing literature, very closely working with Dr. Sacha's team in order to enable beneficial technologies to enter the Abu Dhabi market as quick as possible. We know, I mean, in particular, compared to India, that Abu Dhabi is a small market. However, Dr. Omar already highlighted the markets around us, and there's of course a symbolic meaning when Abu Dhabi approves products, cover them with health insurance, so that of course the countries around us will also have a closer look at technologies already being covered by insurance in Abu Dhabi. Last not least, the next slide, please. We think that we need to further progress. All we talk about today is still under the umbrella of Department of Health, which is mainly the regulator for healthcare in Abu Dhabi. But there is a plan, we're just pending approval from our executive committee in the Emirate of Abu Dhabi to create an authority which would focus on drug and medical devices, but also clinical research and innovation. The idea is that we need a more specialized, separate entity under the umbrella of DOH, but still a separate entity to bundle all the knowledge, to bundle regulation, to be even quicker than we are today, to ensure that there is always a partner working with Abu Dhabi Investment Office, working with Abu Dhabi Department of Economic Development in order to work with innovators, but also work with big pharma companies in order to prepare lending in Abu Dhabi, and that would be the complementary service to what Salvatore already told you about the services of Abu Dhabi Investment Office, to have a counterpart in health in order to make sure that we can offer all the services, all the support required for pharmaceutical industry, make regulation as lean as possible. Yeah, so the vision is to have an Abu Dhabi FDA without F, so no food, but just drugs and medical products. We're looking forward to hopefully receiving approval to go ahead soon. And yeah, you will hopefully read in the news from the next step Abu Dhabi is going to take as a government together with all the partners. Thank you. And the next speaker will be Mr. Abdul Aziz.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Namaste and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and honored guests. It's given me a great pleasure to participate with Abu Dhabi Global Markets in this webinar, and also to share with you our unique and value proposition that we offer at Abu Dhabi Ports. Building on Abu Dhabi attractiveness and competitiveness that's been already illustrated by my colleagues, and also how Abu Dhabi today is transforming to be a global city and destination for life sciences and healthcare services. Let me talk to you a little bit today about how today we offer how to be actually in the integrated maritime and industrial ecosystem of Abu Dhabi. So Abu Dhabi ports, we operate over around 11 ports and terminals. And under the industrial zone, we have two main operators, Zones Corp and KEZAD, that manage 5 industrial and economic zones in the Emirate of Abu Dhabi. We are today home of more than 1,500 companies that host over 60 investor nationalities. Our industrial zones cluster spans over a land space of 555 square kilometers, and we feature around 100 square kilometers of a free zone. Our industrial zones has established economic clusters focused on different industrial sectors such as metals, oil and gas, chemicals, food, automotive, and building material, developed with state-of-the-art infrastructure, utility connections, and ready-made facilities. We also manage more than 40 worker residential cities in close proximity to our zones. In our zones, we have strong Indian business community, as we have over 100 Indian companies operating in Zones Corp and KEZAD by itself. Some of those prominent Indian firms include Lulu, Subha, Jindal So, Life Pharma, New Pharma, and many others. Next. Our industrial zones strongly support the focus of the pharma sector in the UAE, and to serve the wider region and to extend its reach globally. And I'm not going to highlight this too much because it's been explained previously. However, we can see that there is a huge demand and growth in the sector, and Abu Dhabi today offers life science businesses direct access to fast-growing markets in the GCC, MENA region, and Sub-Saharan Africa. Next. So, our cluster focuses on supporting national healthcare priorities towards treating oncology, diabetes, cardiovascular diseases, and respiratory illness, which are common in the region. We have focused our efforts towards attracting investments within pharmaceuticals manufacturing, medical devices, and consumables. We have invested deeply into our pharmaceutical cluster, which today offers specific services to support the life science industries and businesses, including opportunities to manufacturers, healthcare entrepreneurs and startups, and healthcare operations. We offer them service land plots, free zone offices, warehouses, labs, R&D, and R&D facilities. To support our investors in establishing a base in our industrial zones, we also offer government services like regulatory and licensing services, in addition to our special utility packages. This also includes logistics services, such as cold chain transportation, recruitment services, which can be accessed through our trade and logistic digital platform, the Maqta Gateway. In collaboration with our stakeholders, special incentives will also be presented to pharma cluster investors, such as loans, access to equity investment funds, and product export funding schemes. Next. At Zones Corp, we offer you the complete ecosystem where you can live, work, and play. Our state-of-the-art infrastructure utilities, next, please. And if you can bring the whole, yes, please. Our state-of-the-art infrastructure utilities, networks, and logistics services, in addition to close proximity to healthcare institutions such as Cleveland, Abu Dhabi, and Mayo Clinic, that's mentioned some of them. We are closely also linked to large talent pool, universities, and the scientific community. Our ecosystem allows companies to set up alongside existing major pharmaceutical players including New Pharma, ADGM Pharma, and the National Reference Laboratory, who are all currently operating within our zones. Lastly, we are ideally located right in the heart of Abu Dhabi. Next. Our ports give you direct access to markets in the GCC, Africa, Asia, and Europe, home to approximately of more than 3.5 billion customers. We serve over 25 shipping lines and offer direct links to 70 international destinations. Our port features an annual handling capacity of 7.5 million TEUs and 22.4 million tons of general cargo. Next. Alongside our access through land and sea, a pharma hub has been set up at Abu Dhabi International Airport, featuring state-of-the-art facilities and tailored to the pharma cluster. The hub is operated by Etihad Airways, one of the leading global airlines that has over 200 weekly flights to the GCC and globally. In fact, and as we mentioned by Dr. Umar previously, we are very proud today, and as you can see, this picture was distributed in the media recently. We're very proud today that Abu Dhabi, with a strong logistic proposition and as part of the HOPE Consortium, is the logistic hub to facilitate the COVID-19 vaccine distribution around the world. Next. So in a nutshell, we offer a simplified and flexible company formation system with choices of free zone facilities that give you 100% ownership, and in addition to domestic economic zone facilities. We offer you easy access to key markets in the Middle East and Africa, a multimodal connectivity through sea, land, air, and the future rail that's coming in 2023. And of course, duty-free trade in the GCC region and the GAFTA region, in addition to the trade facilitation with many countries through our several free trade agreements between UAE and different countries. Our strategic partners play an essential role in supporting our investors and delivering our unique value proposition, such as the Department of Health, the Industrial Development Bureau, Abu Dhabi Global Market, ADU, and RAFID, which is the largest health procurement company in the UAE. So, thank you again for giving me this opportunity to speak to you today. And I'm looking forward to seeing you soon in the #1 pharma destination. Please feel free to reach out to me and my colleagues for further information and details about our offerings. And we're looking forward to see you soon, inshallah, in Abu Dhabi. Thank you. So, Dr. Bushkar, to you now.
Thank you, Mr. Abdulaziz. My joy at the end of this session will have to give you a quick run-through on Abu Dhabi Global Market. Abu Dhabi Global Market is Abu Dhabi's international financial center, and it has 3 independent authorities. It has got a registration authority, which is roughly equivalent to the Companies House. We have the Financial Services Regulatory Authority. We have the world's only purely digital code, which is based on English common law. And because it is all integrated, we offer international corporates, and of course, including Indian firms, to establish their corporate headquarters as well as their treasury centers over here, because we have a very vast array of firms that form the ecosystem on the commercial side. Next slide, please. So, as I mentioned, the Abu Dhabi Global Market is primarily aimed at establishing a center which is going to help anchor the financials as well as corporate vehicles, which can be based over here. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, we have a very vast ecosystem. We have already issued more than 3,400 licenses. Just a few of them are mentioned over here. Financial services are here, banking, insurance, capital markets, corporate sector, professional service providers, family businesses, the whole lot. fascinating growth. I have joined here just about 2 years back, and it is growing very, very, very rapidly. And this is the place that people are based because the ecosystem is there on the corporate side, on the financial side. We have the innovation piece that Dr. Dirk mentioned. We are very well plugged together with all our other partners. Next slide, please. So from the perspective of establishing your corporate vehicle over here, you have the ability to set up pretty much any kind of corporate vehicle, whether it's a public limited company or a branch, a restricted scope company, a cell company, investment company, etc., etc. If you want, you can also establish a partnership, whether it's an LLP, a general partnership, a limited partnership, or even a branch. Next slide, please. So the way it usually works out and the structure that you can see is that you establish your ADGM headquarters over here along with the treasury. That, of course, is some form of subsidiary or a branch of the parent entity that I would presume would be based in India. You will, of course, do the contractual agreement with the customers from the ADGM vehicle. This, of course, is dependent upon whether you set up your operations in zone scope, the manufacturing warehouses, and of course, the operations can be run out of there. Then you can establish special purpose vehicles, which look after your financials, your assets, your transportation, etc., etc. It is a very, very efficient structure, and the tax efficiency angle is nothing to be sneered at. We also have one of the widest double tax treaty networks in the globe, that is the UAE's. And you are also able to actually take advantage of, if you're based over here and creating a regional hub, you can also take advantage of the pretty substantial export credit agencies that we have got and their offerings for export financing, for intellectual property, for import substitution, and a variety of other purposes between Abu Dhabi Exports Office and Etihad Credit Insurance. Next slide, please. So the private limited company, which most of the people would use, it has got quite a lot of benefits. You don't have any minimum capital requirements. Of course, you do have to maintain international standards when it comes to accounting records. You do have to deliver an annual return to the registrar, giving the details. And the registration authority will oversee the corporate vehicle. And it's pretty much international standard. This is very well rated for transparency and managing corporate vehicles. Next slide, please. So why choose Abu Dhabi Global Markets? It's a range of legal structures, whether holding companies, special purpose vehicles, cell companies, foundations. Very, very simple to set up. It's an online registration mechanism, straightforward reporting requirements, and the customer service is fast, reliable, and client-focused. The framework, which is very important, is based upon English common law. It's hugely economic and politically stable, and a transparent operating environment. In terms of taxation, I've already talked about it, but there's 0% tax for ADGM entities. I've talked about the double tax treaty network, no withholding taxes, and in terms of the operational and infrastructure, it's a very, very efficient structure, support with permits, deep pool of skilled professionals. We have our own ADGM Academy, which looks after training. Sal mentioned the university structure that we have got. So pretty powerful set of reasons why you have this. Next slide, please. So that brings us to the end of the presentations. So now we have some time for some questions. So if you can move to Q&A, please. Thank you very much, folks. So we have some questions that we have got. So let me start with you, Sal. Sal, you talked about IDEO being having a reputation of being very fast and responsive to queries. Could you suggest one thing that you would tell a potential Abu Dhabi inquirer that would help their inquiry move faster?
Yeah, I mean, I think the more specific that any inquiry is, then the more able we are to provide the assistance. So understanding like what type of question it is, whether it's under looking for data or looking for partnership or looking for funding or looking for incentives. You know, the earlier we're able to understand the request in more detail, then the quicker we're able to get to it.
Great, thank you very much, Sal. Dr. Omar, one of the things that you mentioned was obviously a very wide array of companies have moved to Abu Dhabi, ranging from King's College London Hospitals to Roche to Mayo Clinic. And again, the same thing. They say that the Department of Health, Abu Dhabi, is a progressive and a fast, nimble regulator. Would you be able to give a couple of examples as to when you were speaking to clients, what were they saying in terms of the progressive nature or the fast and the nimbleness of Department of Health?
Sure. Let's take healthcare. Start with healthcare in general around the world. So healthcare in changing to a pace, let's say a light speed pace all around the world. Unless you are changing with it and possibly sometimes getting ahead of it in terms of your regulation, you will be left behind. You will be only be a system that will be consuming on what others produce, and you're probably not going to get a very good healthcare in that regard. So what we've done in Abu Dhabi is always looking forward, always looking out and collaborating with people who are expert, experienced, and entities around the world in order not only to bring the best in the healthcare provided in their entity, but also bring the best in their thinking and processes and systems they are applying in order to continue coping and continue to provide healthcare against the three axes, they call it principles in designing healthcare, which is the access, the quality, and the value of it. Hence, what's been happening, I'll give you an example. So Mayo Clinic in the US, it's a well-known entity. They've been providing fantastic care over the last 100 years since their inception in the US. Now, when they started appreciating they are getting lots of patients from around the world. They started appreciating that they need to get to where the patients are. Hence, they started scoping the world for the next biggest, let's say, campus for that services to be providing and getting closer to the world. They scoped the world. They went around the world. They looked at different entities. And their choice has fallen on Abu Dhabi. That was not an investment that Abu Dhabi government paid for. That's not an investment that we put pressure on Mayo to choose. But it's an investment they appreciated. They looked at the system. They think that this system is a high quality system that will protect the investment that themselves put into it. And it will continue to protect the reputation they've been accumulating for the 100 years. And many other companies are the same in the biopharmaceutical sector. You've got GSK, Pfizer. They are looking at expansion, and we're having plenty of entities from India as well expressing the interest and want to get in. So I think part of what Sal was saying from Zone Scope is saying, regulation and ADGM is saying, come and see it for yourself. That's why I say to my Indian colleague, seeing is believing. Don't take our words for it. For all we know, you might be a paid actors and putting a good act. But at the end of the day, you are the business owner. You are the one who will make sense, and your decision need to be based on something you see on your eyes. Come and see it for yourself. It's the most amazing place you will ever see.
Thank you very much for that very enthusiastic response, Dr. Omar. Talking about Indian firms, Dr. Sahar, if I may ask you one question that has come in. You did say that several firms are here who are currently supplying medicines already. Would you be able to shed some light on what made them successful? What tips and tricks that they did that allowed them to become good suppliers to Abu Dhabi Department of Health?
Thank you so much. For the last period during the pandemic of COVID, we faced some shortages of some of the medications, and imagine what the supply mainly goes from certain Indian companies that were able to supply to the market. You have a big portfolio of products that is manufactured in India, and we brought it as a non-registered medicine. The approach this their strategy should be to be the first one who register these products in the UAE, where they will be the registered product. They will stop the importation from other countries, since the privilege would be for the registered items. So we encourage them to study the market very well, assess the availability of certain medications, and we can help with that, sharing the list of non-registered products that they can focus on, study, and see if there is any opportunity for them to produce it here locally or register it with the Ministry of Health to make the product available, and it will be having a very good share into the market as well.
Thank you, Dr. Sar. Dr. Dirk, if I may move on to you. You and I have spoken to some very interesting firms who are wanting to come and set up in Abu Dhabi, whether biopharma to medical robotics to AI, etc., etc. What areas do you think would be hot, as in sort of quite interesting with investments and a good market over the next few years?
Yes, currently, of course, I mean, we are looking at a biopharma cluster. That's one of the things we are looking at for investments. I mean, my colleagues already highlighted the importance and also what we can offer for those companies. Otherwise, looking at current trends and what we would require in our market, I think robotics is important in different fields of healthcare. And the third big area, very closely linked to AI, is of course big data. I mean, what we do right now, or to go back to the past, I mean, not that long ago, very many things in healthcare and healthcare planning, in therapy, were more gut feeling than really based on solid data. But right now, of course, we are looking at a huge amount of data and the ability to really use those data. So all kind of investments in AI make also a lot of sense for us to proceed. And this is also very closely linked to real world evidence, to the future of clinical trials. So of course, it's not, and also for us as a regulator to plan healthcare. So one of the best words, and for sure interesting to invest in, is also all kind of real world data.
Great. Thank you very much, Dr. Dirk. Abdulaziz, if I may bring you in, you have, of course, mentioned the fantastic offering that Abu Dhabi Ports and Zones Corp have for firms who are wishing to set a physical presence over here. I mean, the perspective, obviously, from our discussions today was supplying to Abu Dhabi, but I believe you have several firms who have set up a regional hub here. Would you be able to shed some more light on why the facilities that you have got and the services that you provide would make it a good place for people to think about setting up a regional hub in your location?
So, thank you. That's actually a great question. Today, as I mentioned in my presentation, Abu Dhabi ports and industrial zones create the right place and destination for all the type of services that you need. And we have connected platforms with the maritime business, the ports business, logistics business. So we provide a value proposition that will enable all businesses, all type of businesses, either startups, manufacturing, or even consumable manufacturing or in different areas, to come and set up easily in our zones. We rely on our strong value proposition being located near to the city of Abu Dhabi and near the whole ecosystem that is around us. And at the same time, we depend on our stakeholders in providing the right incentives and the right regulatory facilitation to the businesses and investments that are coming to our zones in particular. So having said that, we see a growing amount of businesses coming every day, especially the current epidemic has really raised the bars, and people today would want to locate in a place that they feel that has all the facilities. At the same time, a huge support from the government and the leadership of Abu Dhabi in the sector that really facilitates the direction forward for Abu Dhabi being a health and life hub global destination. Right.
Great. Thank you very much. I think that's about it for our questions, slightly earlier than planned. So for folks who are live, please note that if you wanted to get a copy of the presentation and the details of the speakers, you'll have to register on the web, on our website. If not, please feel free to connect to me on LinkedIn, and I'm happy to put in touch with you with the relevant people, and of course, send you the deck. So thank you very much for my presenters, for our partners in StreamYard, and thank you very much for the participants who have dialed in from India. Hopefully this was of use, and we'll look forward to hearing from you. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.